The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At J.W. Williams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcements for the J.W. Williams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Ms. Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of United States Navy veteran Miss Evelyn Brown Beal of Virginia Beach, Virginia, formerly of Dooley County, Georgia. The family of Miss Annie Ruth Williams of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Robert Lee Brown of Warwick, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for the food, the flowers, the condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. United States Navy veteran Miss Evelyn Brown Beal, age 65, of Virginia Beach, Virginia, formerly of Dooley County, Georgia, died Thursday, December 14th at the Centura League Hospital in Fort Knox, Virginia. The funeral service for United States Navy veteran Miss Evelyn Brown Beal, age 65, was held Sunday, December 31st, in the chapel of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Coley Clark, Jr. officiated. The burial with military honors followed at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted daughter, Mrs. Regina Hare, and her husband, Mr. Andre Hare of Sparks, Nevada. Two beloved grandchildren, her loving and caring sibling, Mrs. Betty Brown Bryant, and her husband, Deacon Hentley Bryant of Vienna, Georgia. Mr. Bobby Brown and his wife, Mrs. Carolyn Brown of Hawkinsville, Georgia, Miss Tammy Brown of Atlanta, Georgia, Mrs. Rhonda Zellner and her husband, Sir Tim Zellner, and Mr. Maurice Brown and his wife, Miss Tamala Brown, all of Warner Robins, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive Miss Evelyn Brown Beal, age 65, of Virginia Beach, Virginia, formerly of Dooley County, Georgia. Miss Annie Ruth Williams, age 78, of 1003 West Side Drive, Americus, Georgia, died Monday, January 1st at Pruitt Health, Palmyra in Albany, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Annie Ruth Williams, age 78, was held Saturday, January 6th in the sanctuary of the Friendship Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia. The pastor, Bishop Melvin McCluster, officiated. The eulogy was delivered by her beloved daughter, Elder Demetrius Harvey. The burial followed at the Eastview Cemetery in Americus, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Miss Martha Ann Williams of California, Miss Patricia Elaine Ross, Miss Carol Williams, Miss Sherry N. Williams, all of Americus, Georgia, Elder Demetrius Harvey and her husband, Sir Charles Harvey, of Bon Air, Georgia, and Miss Deborah J. Bush of Americus, Georgia. 13 beloved grandchildren, 13 great-grandchildren, her loving and devoted sisters, Miss Josie Williams Lattimore of Fort Valley, Georgia, Miss Leola Williams, Mrs. Shirley Robinson Manning and her husband, Sir Perry Manning, and Apostle Carol C., all of Americus, Georgia, and Mrs. Betty Robinson Brown and her husband, Mr. Donald Brown of Decatur, Georgia. Her beloved brothers, Mr. Willie Robinson and his wife, Mrs. Barbara Robinson of Phoenix City, Alabama, and Mr. Clarence Robinson of Atlanta, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces and nephews, many cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends to include Miss Janie Fillingame and Miss Rethel Yarborough of Americus, Georgia. Survived Mrs. Annie Ruth Williams, age 78, of 1003 West Side Drive, Americus, Georgia. Mr. Robert Lee Brown, age 82, of 106 Providence Circle, Warwick, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 3rd, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Robert Lee Brown, age 82, was held Saturday, January 6th, in the chapel of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Donnie R. Hall Sr. officiated. The burial followed at the Mount Olive Baptist Church Cemetery in Warwick, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Mr. John L. Brown and his wife, Mrs. Eddie Jean Brown, and Miss Eileen Mitchell of Cordele, Georgia. 14 beloved grandchildren, a host of beloved great-grandchildren, his beloved and devoted aunt who served as his caregiver, Mother Willie May Walker of Warwick, Georgia. A host of family and friends to include Mr. Robert Brown, Mrs. Kendra Pewitt, Mr. Lee Brown, Miss Loretta Carter, Mr. Roderick Walker, Mr. Curtis Jones, Miss Audrey Wheeler, and Miss Latasha Brown. Survived Mr. Robert Lee Brown, age 82, of 106 Providence Circle, Warwick, Georgia. Again, the family of United States Navy veteran, Miss Evelyn Brown Deal of Virginia Beach, Virginia, formerly of Dooley County, Georgia. The family of Miss Annie Ruth Williams of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Robert Lee Brown of Warwick, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you is their prayer. The J.W. Williams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now, it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. Mr. Samuel McCluster, Jr., age 67, of 364 Meyer Street, Richland, Georgia, died Tuesday, December 26, 2023, at the home of his beloved daughter in Americus, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Jeannie Bell Merritt McCluster, his loving and devoted children, Miss Felicia McCluster of Columbus, Georgia, Mr. Sam McCluster of Richland, Georgia, Mrs. Regina McCluster Worth and her husband, Mr. Anthony Worth, and Mr. Jakari McCluster, all of Americus, Georgia. A host of beloved grandchildren and great-grandchildren, his loving and devoted sisters, Miss Cheryl A. Hubbard and her husband, Mr. Al Hubbard, and Miss Rebecca McCluster of Columbus, Georgia. Mrs. Walleen McCluster Bryce and her husband, Mr. Gene Francis Bryce of Jacksonville, Florida. His beloved brothers, Mr. Frederick Douglas Way and his wife, Mrs. Dolly Way of Fort Valley, Georgia. Mr. Marcellus McCluster of Gainesville, Georgia. Mr. Oscar McCluster and his wife, Mrs. Renee McCluster of Jacksonville, Florida, and Mr. James Woodson of Richland, Georgia. His beloved aunts, Mrs. Marie Frederick and her husband, Mr. Joseph Frederick of Apopka, Florida, Mrs. Georgia Mae Johnson and Miss Mabel Brown. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive Mr. Samuel McCluster, Jr., age 67, of 364 Meyer Street, Richland, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Samuel McCluster, Jr., age 67, will be held today, Sunday, January 7th at 1 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Friendship Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia. The pastor, Bishop Melvin McCluster, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Mount Olive Baptist Church Cemetery in Lumpkin, Georgia. Mr. Willie Lee Boone, age 73, of Americus, Georgia, died Sunday, December 31st, 2023, at Wilson Hospice House in Albany, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Brenda Hudson Boone of Americus, Georgia. His loving and devoted children, Mr. Dexter Boone and friend, Miss Valencia Boone of Atlanta, Georgia. Miss Kelly Nelson and husband, Mr. Gerald Nelson of Douglasville, Georgia. Dr. Tina Boone and friend, Mr. Lavaris Rowell of Mableton, Georgia. and Mr. Willie C. Boone and his wife, Dr. Lakeisha Boone of Albany, Georgia. 4 beloved grandchildren. His beloved goddaughter, Miss Felicia Thomas of Mableton, Georgia. 2 god grandchildren. 1 beloved brother, Mr. Arthur Lee Boone of Americus, Georgia. A beloved sister, Mrs. Mary C. and her husband, Mr. Charlie C. of Americus, Georgia. His beloved in-law, a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Willie Lee Boone, age 73, of Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Willie Lee Boone, age 73, will be held Saturday, January 13th at 10 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Albany, Georgia. The pastor, Dr. Daniel Simmons, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Oak Grove Cemetery in Americus, Georgia. The public visitation will be Friday, January 12th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Beloved church mother, Mother Grace Adams Patrick, age 97, of 1612 South 10th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 3rd at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mrs. Clara Ward and Mr. Kareem Ali and his wife, Mrs. Rashid Ali of St. Petersburg, Florida. Mr. Samuel Savage and his wife, Mrs. Frances Savage of Chicago, Illinois. Mr. Arthur Patrick of Cocoa, Florida. Mrs. Sheila Patrick Butts and her husband, Mr. Robert Butts of Cordele, Georgia. And Mr. Lorenzo Patrick and his wife, Mrs. Angie Patrick of Canada. A host of beloved grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. A host of nieces and nephews, many cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Beloved church mother, Mother Grace Adams Patrick, age 97, of 1612 South 10th Street, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for beloved church mother, Mother Grace Adams Patrick, age 97, will be held Saturday, January 13th at 3:30 p.m. in the chapel of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. Her pastor, the Reverend Lorinda Ray, pastor of the beautiful Zion Baptist Church, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Sunnyside Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. The public visitation will be Friday, January 12th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Beloved Deacon, Vice Chairman, Deacon Henry King Jr., age 85, of 901 South 14th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Thursday, January 4th at his residence in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his beloved and caring son, Mr. Nathaniel Rose, and his wife, Mrs. Susan Rose of Oglethorpe, Georgia. His loving grandchildren, Ms. Rosalind West, Ms. Rosen Johnson and her husband, Mr. Quentin Johnson, Mr. Cartina Rhodes and his wife, Mrs. Tiffany Rhodes, 21 beloved grandchildren, his loving and devoted sisters, Mrs. Wilhelmina R. Williams, Mrs. Alberta R. Hamilton and her husband, Deacon Donald K. Hamilton Jr., Ms. Rose J. Rogers, all of Cordele, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. John L. Rogers and Mr. George Rogers of Cordele, Georgia, and Mr. Bobby Rogers and his wife, Mrs. Amita Rogers of Vienna, Georgia. A beloved uncle, Mr. Augusta Telfair Jr. of Cordele, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, his cousins, Miss Rose Oates of New York and Miss Gloria Jean Size and her husband, Sir Clarence Size of Miami, Florida. A host of other relatives and many, many sorrowing friends to include his Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church family, survived beloved Deacon Vice Chairman Deacon Henry King Jr., age 85, of 901 South 14th Street, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for beloved Deacon Vice Chairman Deacon Henry King Jr., age 85, will be held Sunday, January 14th at 1 p.m. in the sanctuary of his beloved Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church in Cordele, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Cecil Straughter, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. The public visitation will be Saturday, January 13th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. You don't want me to do it? Mrs. Vivian Harrington Williamson, age 66, of 910 South 5th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Friday, January 5th at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted husband, Mr. Willie Williamson of Cordele, Georgia, a host of other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. Mrs. Vivian Harrington Williamson, age 66, of 910 South 5th Street, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Vivian Harrington Williamson, age 66, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors serving Cordele and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. And as always, we do remind you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 3-year pay, a 5-year pay, and a 10-year pay. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And also whole life insurance is available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
And now for announcements. The Greater Gum Creek Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them each first, second, third, and fourth Sunday, with worship service beginning at 10:30 a.m. Mother Norma Solomon, Church Mother, Deacon Zachary Fields, Chairman of Deacons, Reverend Joseph Hagebrook is the pastor. The Cordele Crisp County chapter of the NAACP would like to remind us of the upcoming Dr. Martin Luther King Day activities. The Freedom Fund banquet will be held on Saturday, January 13th at Blatcher Event Center at 6 o'clock p.m. Please remember to bring your tickets for entry into the banquet. Also, any church, family, or individual may still purchase ads for the banquet souvenir booklet. Please contact Ms. Dorothy Bryant at 229-938-3308 for more information on banquet tickets. On Monday, January 15th, our annual MLK Day commemorative walk and parade will start at 9:30 a.m. The lineup will begin at 8:45 a.m. in the parking lot of the Southwestern Elementary School and proceed on East 24th Avenue to South 7th Street to the Cordele Lions Club. All churches and community organizations are welcome to walk or drive their vehicle in the procession. Please call Minister Louise Brown Hicks for more information if you would like to participate. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Program will be held at the Cordele Lions Club at 11 o'clock a.m. with the guest speaker, Reverend Darius Butler. Everyone has a cordial invitation to attend, and all members who are interested in singing in the 50-voice commemorative choir are asked to contact Deacon Kenneth Smith or Sister Brenda Howard for more information. Thank you for your continued support as we prepare for our MLK Day celebration this year. Everyone has a cordial invitation to worship at the McAfee Grove Baptist Church during this worship service. Family nights on Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m., small class studies at Thursday at 7 p.m., Sunday morning worship at 9 a.m., and you may join them by calling 425-436-6341. The access code is 708058. Minister Tawanda Daniels, Secretary. Dr. Robert L. Morgan Sr. is the pastor. The New Corinth Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them each third Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. The Greater Gum Creek Baptist Church Family and Friends Day service will be held on Sunday, January 14th at 10:30 a.m. The pastor, Reverend Joseph Hagebrook, will deliver the message. Everyone has a cordial invitation to attend. Mother Norma Solomon, Church Mother, Deacon Zachary Fields, Chairman of Deacons, Reverend Joseph Hagebrook is the pastor. The New St. Stephen's Church Family and Friends Day will be observed on Sunday, January 14th at 11 a.m. Everyone is invited to attend. Dr. Frankie Harmon is the pastor. The Albany Alumni and Delta Road chapters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and Eta Omicron and Chi Epsilon chapters of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated are sponsoring a soup, socks, and hat giveaway on Monday, January 15th from 10 a.m. until 12 o'clock noon at the Mount Calvary Baptist Church Annex Building. Everyone is invited to come by and take part in this soup, socks, and hat giveaway on Monday, January 15th, a day of service. You're cordially invited to worship at the annual Family Day service of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church, which will be observed on Sunday, January 21st at 10:45 a.m. Prophetess Lashika Williams will be the guest speaker. Everyone is cordially invited to attend. Sister Linda Rollins, Family Day chairperson, Deacon Leon Spears, chairman of deacons, Reverend Isaac Owens is the pastor. The new William Grove Baptist Church 28th church anniversary and the 7th anniversary of the pastor will be observed on Sunday, January 21st at 11 a.m. The Spring Hill Baptist Church and Pastor Shannon Follett will be in charge of the service. Mother Grading 4, Church Mother. Deacon Winford Green, Chairman of Deacons. Reverend Nikita Lester is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church today. Sunday school begins at 9 o'clock a.m., worship service at 9:30 a.m. Mother Mary Henderson, Church Mother. Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Chairman of Deacons. Dr. K.M. Williams is the pastor. Everyone has a cordial invitation to worship at the Mount Zion Baptist Church today. Conference call Sunday morning at 10 a.m., prayer Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 o'clock noon. Bible study is held each Wednesday at 5 o'clock p.m. The calling number is 339-209-6419. Deacon Joe Wedge is Chairman of Deacons. Dr. Dan James III is the pastor. You're cordially invited to worship at the Gethsemane Baptist Church today. Worship service begins at 10:30 a.m. Deacon Johnny Wilson, Chairman of Deacons. Brother Cecil Straughter is the pastor. Everyone has a cordial invitation to worship at the New Oak Grove Baptist Church today. Sunday school at 9:15 a.m. Worship service at 10 a.m. Face covering is required. Deacon Alonzo Jones, Chairman of Deacons. Reverend W.W. Wilson is the pastor. Everyone is cordially invited to worship at the beautiful Zion Baptist Church today. Worship service begins at 11 a.m. Reverend Lorinda Ray is the pastor. A day of service will be observed on January 15, 2024 at 11 o'clock a.m. This year's theme is We Are One, It Starts With Me. The program will be held at the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia. Bishop Melvin McCluster is the pastor. Mrs. Rosemary Jones will be the guest speaker. Everyone is invited to come out as they continue the legacy and impact the community by donating canned food items. Donation boxes will be on site. A day of service, January 15, 2024, 11 o'clock a.m. The Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Celebration, Monday, January 15th at 11 o'clock a.m. at the Friendship Baptist Church in Americus, Georgia. Mass choir rehearsals are Sunday, January 7th at 6 o'clock p.m., Monday, January 8th at 6 o'clock p.m., Sunday, January 14th at 6 p.m. You may contact Brother Kelvin Pless at 229-942-5273 or Brother Niall Yerby at 229-296-2091 for more information. The Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation will be held on Wednesday, January 24th, 2024 at 11 o'clock a.m. at the GSW Storm Dome. The guest speaker will be Brother Eric Bryant, Sumter County Sheriff. Everyone has a cordial invitation to attend the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation on Wednesday, January 24th at 11 o'clock a.m. Friends, as always, we remind you concerning our Sunday morning program is you may watch us live on our J.W. Williams Funeral Home YouTube channel each Sunday morning at 7 o'clock a.m. And we ask that if you have any announcements that you will please get those announcements to us by way of fax at 229-273-5111, or you may email them to us at info@jwwilliams.com. info@jwwilliams.com, or you may, as always, drop them by the funeral home before 12 o'clock noon on Saturday. This concludes our announcements for today.
And now for dedication. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: in loving memory of United States Army veteran Ms. Liza Barrett, who would have celebrated her birthday January 2nd. Dedication requested by our beloved husband, Deacon Sammy Barrett, and the entire family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Xavier Johnson, who would have celebrated his birthday January 3rd. Dedication requested by his beloved mother, Mrs. Carolyn Bill Thomas, and the entire Bill family. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Mr. Henry Jake Burden, who departed this life January 4, 2007. Dedication requested by the Burden family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mother Ida Bell Patrick, who departed this life January 4, 2023. Dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, and the entire Patrick family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Edwina Carter, who would have celebrated her birthday January 4th, dedication requested by her children, grandchildren, and the entire Carter family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Annie Mae Coffin, who departed this life January 4th, 2018. Dedication requested by the Porter and Coffin family and the members of the Greater March Tabernacle Baptist Church of Pastor Dr. K.M. Williams and the entire membership. Pause and remember the life and service of Mrs. Annie Mae Coffin. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Miss Cora Blake, who departed this life January 5th, 2007. Dedication requested by the Kendrick and Blake family. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Mrs. Mildred Swanson, who departed this life January 6, 2000. Dedication requested by the Swanson and Collier family. Precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of past retired educator, Mother Ida Rose Oliver, who departed this life January 7, 2021. Dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, and the entire family. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Deacon Albert Montfrey, who departed this life January 7, 1991. Dedication requested by the Montfrey family. In loving memory of Mrs. Lena Curler, who departed this life January 9th, 1998. Dedication requested by the Curler family. In loving memory of Mr. Earl Leary Jr., who departed this life January 1991. Dedication requested by his beloved wife, Mother Willie Mae Leary, the children, Deacon Earl Leary and Faye Leary, Miss Patricia Leary, Mr. Eddie and Miss Julia Leary, the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the entire family. Gone but not forgotten. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy 4th anniversary to Mr. Henry and Miss Lily Fox, who will celebrate their anniversary Monday, January 8th. Dedication requested by the family. God bless your union and keep it strong. Mr. Henry and Miss Lily Fox, God bless you. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy birthday to Miss Benidra Johnson, who celebrated her birthday Thursday, January 3rd. Dedication requested by her beloved mother, Mrs. Carolyn Bill Thomas, and the Bill family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Barbara Dennis, who is celebrating her birthday today, Sunday, January 7th. Dedication requested by her beloved husband, Brother Johnny Dennis, her daughters, grandchildren, the Dennis and McGill family. Happy birthday to our own Mrs. Aletha Askew, who will celebrate her birthday on Monday, January 8th. Dedication requested by her beloved family and the members of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, where she serves as church clerk and trustee of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church, and the staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. All says happy birthday to Mrs. Aletha Jones Askew. God bless you. Happy birthday to Mr. Naquan Reese, who celebrated his birthday Friday, January 5th. Dedication requested by his beloved grandmother, Miss Gail Chanel, and the entire Reese, Hector, and Chanel family. Happy birthday to Miss Dorothy Jones, who will celebrate her birthday Tuesday, January 9th. Dedication requested by our beloved children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the entire family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Tora West Alexander, who will celebrate her birthday Tuesday, January 9th. Dedication requested by her husband and the entire Alexander, West, and Levant families. Happy birthday to Miss Asia Hicks, who will celebrate her birthday Wednesday, January 10th. Dedication requested by our beloved husband, her children, and the entire Hicks, Kellogg, and Reese family. Happy birthday to the Reverend W. Wilson, who will celebrate his birthday Wednesday, January 10th. Dedication requested by his wife, his children, grandchildren, the entire family, and the members of the New Oak Grove Baptist Church. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: Deacon James Smith and family, Deacon Johnny and Sister Vera Perry and family, Mother Mary Benjamin and family, Deacon George Jordan and family, Deacon Jerome Jordan and family, Mrs. Linda Ross, retired educator of the Sumter County School System, Mother Melan Hawkins and family of Americus, Georgia, Mr. Leon Hawkins and family, Elder Charlie Carr and family, Deacon Frank and Sister Gloria Mays and family, and the members of the Mount Abel Baptist Church of Lee County, Georgia, Mrs. Geraldine Harvey and family, Mr. and Mrs. Freddie Pittman and family, Mr. and Mrs. Willie B. Barnes and family, Deaconess Martha A. Cross and family, the Reverend Willie and Sister Helen Lockett and family of Albany, Georgia, Mother Alberta Rouse and family of Americus, Georgia, Deacon James and Dr. Elizabeth Maddox and family, and Mother Eddie Mae Graper and family, the Reverend Johnny and Dr. Deanne Hosley and family, and Mother Marie Wright and family, the entire Wright family in memory of Bishop Liam Wright, Dr. and Mrs. Christopher West and family, Deacon and Mrs. Zachary Fields and family, Mrs. Evolia Solomon and family, Deacon and Mrs. Tommy Ford and family, Deacon and Mrs. Sam Oliver and family, my cousin Deacon Emery Wright, and the entire Wright family of Albany and Lee County, Georgia, the Black family of Vienna, Georgia, Miss Eddie Mae Cooks and family, Mrs. Pearl Reed and family, Bishop Maggie Washington and family, Elder Gardner, Mrs. Beulah Morgan and family, Mother Jessie Kate Harmon and family, Mrs. Ola Lofton and family, Miss Gail Chanel and family, Miss Juanita Montford and family, Miss Katrina Jones and family, Mrs. Nancy Butler and family, Mr. and Mrs. A.D. Levant and family, the Dennis family, Miss Sidney Ruff and family, Mrs. Annette Ruff and family, Mrs. Quinetta Ruff and family, Mother Willie Mae Leary and family of Hatley, Georgia, and the entire Carter family of Hatley, Georgia, Miss Valerie Carter and family, Mrs. Barbara Roberts and family, Mr. Anthony Williams and family, Mr. Sean Hutchins and family, Mrs. Selma Jackson and family, the Redding family, the Lawton and Epps family, the Rogers family, Mr. Charles and Mrs. Vivian Daniels and family, Mr. F.D. Lawton and family. Our first selection goes out to Mrs. Lois Reynolds and family, Mrs. Claudette Armstrong and family, the Christopher family, the Mobley family, Mrs. Costello Levant and family, Mother Mary Henderson and family, Mrs. Dorothy Westbrook and family, Commissioner Vesta Bill Shepherd and family, the entire Bill family, the Reverend and Mrs. Nelson Maynard and family, the Reverend Fred and Mrs. Jackie Brown and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Jeff Wilson and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Joseph Hoggebrook and family, the Reverend and Mrs. Ivy Corbin and family, Deacon Leroy and Mrs. Diane Thomas and family, Chairman Deacon Sammy McGill and family, Miss Monica Westbrook and family, the Reverend Artist and Mrs. LaShawn Westbrook and family, Deacon Charlie and Mrs. Westbrook and family, Mr. Donald and Mrs. Ruby Daniels and family. Our first selection this morning goes out to my neighbor, Mother Theron Jones and family, and the entire Jones and Tarbert family, Deacon and Mrs. John Stubbs and family, Deacon and Mrs. Donald Tarbert and family, and Mrs. Juanita Mathis Tarbert and family, our first selection for this morning. It is such